Are you wanting to move out, but you don't think you can afford it?
Hey, I'm Alex.
And I'm Philip.
And we teach you grown-up stuff.
Because adulting shouldn't suck. If you're new to this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. In the comments below, let us know when you're trying to move out. Alex and I both moved out at 18, right after high school, and we never had to move back into our parents. We pretty much consider that a win in our books. It wasn't pretty, we made some mistakes along the way, but we got it done and we learned some valuable lessons that we get to pass on to you guys.
Moving out and living on your own is a big deal. But if you don't prepare for it right, you can ruin your credit, you can end up with a ton of debt, or even an eviction on your record if you get kicked out. And then, what, you're going to feel like a failure because you sucked at adulting and you had to move back in with your mom and dad or your grandma and grandpa or whoever's going to let you move back in for free?
Surfing on some couches at some people's houses.
Yeah, that's the last thing anybody wants.
Like you said, moving out can be disastrous if you don't prepare. So, Alex and Philip, we created a mini course to help you create a move out plan so you can move out without messing it up and getting it right the first time. If you want to check that course out, the link's going to be in the description below, so make sure you go give it a look.
Okay, so the first thing you got to do is learn about money management. Now, probably saying, Alex and Philip, what the hell does that even mean? Well, money management basically just means having a budget. And there's lots of different budgeting techniques out there. One of them is the 50-30-20 rule. Probably read about it all over online as soon as you start trying to figure out how to actually be more successful at adulting. And it's great if you're already an adult, but it's absolutely trash if you're just trying to get started as a young adult.
The 50-30-20 rule says that you should spend 50% of your monthly income on your living expenses. It says that you should spend 30% of your monthly income on your wants, like Starbucks, video games, clothes, what have you. And then it says that you should put the last 20% of your monthly income into your savings account. I mean, it is a great plan, like Alex was saying, but if you're just getting started as an adult, 50% of your income likely isn't going to cover your living expenses. And unfortunately, I mean, that just breaks the entire plan and the whole rule for people that are just starting out.
So this is exactly why we don't recommend the 50-30-20 rule for young adults. We recommend the 70-10-10-10 rule for budgeting when you're just getting started. It's a lot more realistic, probably going to be able to afford actually living under this rule and not hate yourself feeling like you're constantly failing at sticking to a budget because the 50-30-20 rule, not realistic. So the 70% out of this represents how much money you're going to allocate out of your budget to pay for needs like your rent and phone and insurance and utilities and gas and all that stuff that you need to actually survive. And then 10% goes towards the fun stuff, like Philip calls it, your wants. You know, if you want to have fun and enjoy life, that's where that 10% comes in. You got to budget for it. Otherwise, usually it blows your budget if you don't set aside money for it. And you got 10% that should go towards savings or setting up or fully funding an emergency fund. And then the last 10% should go towards investing. So the 70-10-10-10 rule is what we recommend because, like I said, I can't say it enough and overstate it. It's way more realistic and you're more likely to actually stick to it long term and feel like you're being successful at doing it versus the 50-30-20 rule where there's no way. It's just not realistic when you're starting.
If you need help creating a budget for yourself, we have an entire playlist covering this type of stuff. So the link's going to be in the description below, so make sure you go ahead and check that out. It's got a whole bunch of great information in there, great resources to get your stuff started for you. So go there, look through the stuff, and get started on it. Once you have your budget set up, you're going to want to have an emergency fund. These things are so important because it's not if an emergency happens, it's when an emergency happens. And if you don't have an emergency fund already set up, this emergency, when it happens, is going to destroy your budget. If you don't have this money set aside, I mean, you're going to either have to put it on a credit card, you're going to have to borrow this money from someone, your grandma, your grandpa, your mommy, your daddy, someone that you're going to have to pay the money back, which you don't want. You want to be able to rely on yourself and only have to worry about yourself. So you need this emergency fund. And if you need help with creating that, it's in that playlist that we just talked about a little bit ago. So emergency fund, super important.
When you're living on your own, there's some pretty key things you can do to save money. One of the biggest ones, one of the biggest expenses for most people is what you eat. So when you go grocery shopping, it's a lot cheaper to cook food at home than going out and buying food all the time or ordering Uber Eats or whatever. I mean, call me crazy, but that crap is freaking expensive.
Super
and
expensive.
When you're living on your own and you're not making a lot of money, that is a giant waste of money. Now, little pro tip here. I will go eat food before I go grocery shopping. That way I'm not starving and thinking about food while I'm going grocery shopping. However, this guy and my wife will both go grocery shopping, not together, but they go grocery shopping and then they're too lazy to cook their own food afterwards because now they're starving and then they get food to go on the way home.
It's not because we're starving, okay? It's because we're tired from grocery shopping.
What?
Okay? Didn't know I was getting attacked in this video, but, okay, just to clarify, it's because I'm too tired to cook, not because I'm starving. Sometimes that has part of it, but.
He's a princess.
Shut off the damn lights in your house. If you're not in the room, turn off the light. If you're not home, turn off the air conditioner. Turn off the heater. That stuff costs money. It's expensive, and it adds up. If you're not using it, don't have it on. Hello?
You sound like such a dad right now. Turn off your lights. You know how cheap the lights are nowadays?
Turn that music down. Don't touch the thermometer. It's thermostat.
If you're trying to afford your first apartment, you definitely should not be going out and buying all your stuff brand new. Absolutely not, unless you just got money to blow, which, I mean, we don't recommend that anyways, but definitely talk to your family. See if they got any like old couches or beds or furniture or dishes or whatever. Hand-me-downs. They're great. Mm-hmm. You can look on Facebook Marketplace. You can go to OfferUp or whatever other apps are out there and try and find used stuff for cheap. I mean, IKEA is great if you don't have very much money and you can't get hand-me-downs. I know I had a lot of IKEA stuff when I was young.
Yeah. I mean, the IKEA stuff might blow over if you turn the fan on in the house, but it's still good.
Oh, yeah, not the best quality in the world, but it gets you by.
Yeah. And when you're asking your parents, you know, like, yo, dad, yo, mom, let me have that couch when I move out. You might be surprised. They might actually tell you yes more often than you think because the parents are probably looking for some sort of reason to buy a new couch because they've had that crusty couch for like 10 years or whatever and it's blown out. And they're like, yeah, all right, take this couch and then we can go buy a new one. I've been wanting a recliner, a dad recliner.
As a matter of fact, my first couches I got from my best friend's mom and dad. I did exactly that. I'm like, hey, you guys have had these couches like the whole time I've known you, that we've grown up together. Do you want to get rid of them by chance? Because I'm moving out. And they're like, oh, yeah, here you go. And my buddy was like, what if I wanted to move out? And they're like, you ain't moving out. And then for my first dinner table at my apartment, same place, I went and got a plexiglass backboard for a basketball hoop. No basketball rim attached, obviously. And my buddy's dad welded legs to it because it had a metal frame on the backside of it. So I had that as my dinner table, and I had free couches.
Yeah.
Total dude apartment.
I asked my mom to have the couches when I moved out, and she told me no. Lastly, where you live matters. If you're living out on the outskirts of town, trying to save some money because it's cheaper out there, but then you have to commute an hour to work one way, are you really saving money? Now, this always isn't going to be the case, but some cases, it's going to be cheaper if you lived in town. And if you didn't have a car payment, instead you used public transportation, or you got a bicycle and you just pedaled yourself around to get from point A to point B. So these are just things to think about when you're considering moving to a certain place. Because if you're stuck in traffic for an hour and you're paying all this money in fuel just to get to work, are you really saving money?
On average, a new car payment's what, like $550 a month? And an average used car payment's $400 a month, plus gas, plus insurance. Yeah. It's a lot of money.
It is.
Is it cheaper to take Uber a couple times a week?
Bicycles, man. I used to walk like 3 miles to work in the winter. And then I got transferred to another location that was even further away. And guess what I did? I walked.
The best way to prove that you're a real adult is by having a job and paying all your own bills.
Damn right.
Because that's real power, is when mommy and daddy aren't paying anything for you. Mm-hmm. And you're doing it all on yourself and you're being responsible and doing real adulting things. kind of sucks sometimes. We don't make a lot of money because it feels like you just go to work to pay bills. But the more money you make and the more skills you get, the better jobs you get, the easier it is to pay your bills. And then you feel like you're winning at adulting. And sometimes when you're starting out, you got to have roommates. I could not have lived on my own. You probably couldn't have lived on your own without roommates. Sometimes it's a necessary evil. I went from having one roommate to at times I had 3 roommates because that's what it took to get by because bills are expensive. And sometimes it was a lot of fun. Sometimes it sucked. But, necessary evil in order to afford adulting.
So moving out is important, and everyone should do it sooner than later. I mean, you got to accomplish this stuff and get it done. But if you don't prepare, disastrous, horrible, flames, fire, burn, okay, for you and for anyone else that you do it with if they have to cover the slack for you. So just take the time, do some research, prepare, and move out. If you like this video, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe. In the comments below, let us know if you're going to be moving out anytime soon.
And we'll see you in the next video.